Hey everybody, welcome to Between the Lines with Curran. I'm your host, and tonight we're speaking with autism parenting support and coach, BCBA, author of the book Guiding Light, which can help you navigate autism with empathy and expertise, creator of the Guiding Circle, which is a parenting community for parents with kiddos on the spectrum, teaching you tools, strategies, and creating a much needed space for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, Kassandra Alvarez. How's it
Thank you
going?
for having me. That was so beautiful.
Yes, thank you for being on. I
Of
watch your
course.
stuff on Instagram and I love your approach, not just the knowledge that you have when you do speak about it, but it's kind of your approach and the empathy that you bring, which is very meaningful because there's so many different people in this spectrum that you're reaching. So that was one of the reasons why I was like, I got to have you on. Like, we got to talk.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's so kind. Yeah, it's been a journey for sure, like the whole content creation process, but
Hmm.
it's been so good. Like I've slowly built up a little community and it's been great. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you never know who you're going to reach. You know,
Yeah.
I had
That
come
part.
across your page some time ago and was just watching it, and then the podcast came about and you were one of the people I was thinking of, like, oh, I would love to have her on here just to kind of get her perspective of it, especially being a BCBA and the
Yeah.
level of training and information that you do have. It's just very helpful to parents as they're trying to navigate, for some of them, this brand new world.
Yeah. Yeah. And the BCBA part, I think I don't want to say like it's scary to some people, but it's a trigger like to some people because some people haven't had a good experience with BCBAs. So
Hmm.
it's always like I will always mention it because at the end of the day, that is where I'm coming from. But it's also like I see it through a different lens. Like at the end of the day, we're all human and we need to be human first because that's really
Yes.
how you're going to be able to get to where you want to be and make the progress that you want to be and not make the progress that you want to have not only for your child but also for like you and
Hmm.
everyone talks about like living, especially with autism, right? Like you have a child that you might have for the rest of your life or their life, like you might be their caretaker, but it's like if you don't take care of you, how are you going to be able to do that? And so that's like the lens that I'm coming from is like not only being a BCBA, but also like you need to care for yourself. So it's a
You're
little bit different, but we're human and we need to be human first.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more because we're very fortunate with our BCBA, right? She's amazing. Um, and everything just seemed to work out. But I
Mm,
do understand through conversations with other people that they weren't so lucky.
yeah.
So you start to hear some of those stories, but as I see your story and follow what you're saying, I think what you would do essentially for the people that do follow you or going forward would follow you is for you to reset that bad experience they had. Maybe it doesn't eliminate it because you're not necessarily with them in person and working with their kiddo, but just to see that there are good people out there that care, that there is good information and people with empathy out there. And, you know,
Yeah.
thank
No,
you.
that
Thank
is
you for
that
what you're
is
doing.
that's actually so beautiful. I've never actually thought about that. Um, I have had a few people reach out to me that, they reach out to you privately, right? Because they don't want to comment on you, and I respect that. And they're like, everything that you are is unethical to what I believe in and the field that I'm in. And I'm like, okay, what part? And they're like, well, being a BCBA in the field of ABA. I'm like, okay, what was your experience? And then they tell me their experience, and it wasn't an ABA problem, it was a human problem. It was that
Mm,
they had a bad experience with that person that happened to have or happened to be in the field of ABA. At the end of the day, the way that we were raised, everything shows up in how we are going to be in our professional world and our personal, everything. And so it's
yeah.
some people have had horrible experience and it is really sad, but
Yeah, it is.
there are good ones out there.
Well, it also applies to the community as well. Like when you think about it, like if you've had one experience with a BCBA or whoever it is, to put that light on to everyone that holds that title is the same stigma that people in our community face about one person with autism. You like, the saying, if you've met one person with
Yeah,
autism, you've met one person. So it's like, for some people to kind of cast that as well, not just to you, but to whether it's ABA or BCBAs, it's kind of where to cast that out there when you also don't want to be judged in that same light. I look at everyone like they're all, like you said, they're all individuals. We're all humans.
hmm,
We're all people. We're going to make mistakes, and most of us are trying our best on a daily basis. And I think that's got to be
exactly.
something that's really valued.
Yeah, and because of the bad experiences, people forget that part. And
Hmm.
someone recently told me, like, we are one step away from doing the thing that we hate people do to us because we're human. Like, we we can be a really bad person at sometimes, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be like that every day. And sometimes it takes doing that to learn from it. And I mean, you don't know like what the experiences have been, and some of them have been really bad. I know I've seen some of it with my own eyes where I'm like, hey, that wasn't okay that you did that. Did they ever do it again? No. Do I know if they are doing it now? I hope not. But it's it's just like I feel like it's the way that a lot of them were raised, like your childhood and all of that comes into like how you're going to practice as a practitioner, and not just BCBAs, it's just like all the medical field. Like we've all had bad experiences with doctors because they didn't care about us or they didn't listen to what we were saying. And I feel like it's very much the same with the field of autism and in the ABA space at least.
Yeah. I mean, you could go as far as teachers or police officers or just
Everything,
any kind of professional that's requiring you
Yeah.
to work with other people in different moods. At any given time,
Yes.
someone can just catch you on a good day, catch you on a bad day.
Yeah.
Maybe that person said something that got to you the wrong way, or that's
Yeah.
why it's very important to understand as you're just speaking with different people that everyone's coming from different situations and different backgrounds. It's trying to say, all right, guys, let's calm down the room. Let's try to get on the same page with what information we're trying to get across. Because then when you can slow things down, you start to find out that most people aren't out to harm anyone.
Hmm.
I think people can work together.
Yeah.
But
And it sometimes too, I think the problem sometimes with families is that people didn't do a good enough job of listening to what they had to say.
mm,
Like you because you're a BCBA, right? You're there to teach them. But also as BCBAs, and this is something that I've worked with some companies to do, is like we need to do a better job about asking questions rather than telling people and being more seeing them as not a client and not like a family that we're serving, but just as a person, because that's really the only way that you're going to have people trust you is if you see them as humans and you treat them as human beings, which means like
hmm
you want to know about their day, you want to know how they're doing. If something happened in their life that you knew about, ask them about it, like humanize the experience for them too, because and especially in ABA, they're with you a lot of the times every single like Monday through Friday. So you're seeing them often. If you know something happened, ask about it. And I think that really like helps build the relationship with families. And I think sometimes BCBAs don't do a good enough job of doing that because we're so inclined to like just help them with what they need help with.
yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And like I said, for us, we've had an unbelievable experience with the personnel that we've had. So you build those bonds because, yeah, I mean, if they're in the house, they're living with you for those, maybe couple hours or whatever the time frame is that they're here with you. And you start to learn about the families and the personalities and understanding that, in that situation, they're people with more information and more training, but they're people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're leaning in on is that sense of community of like, hey, thank you. You're trying to help us. I know it's a job, but you are trying to help and develop. And there's a tough balance of that level of caring and understanding and what you're trying to teach in hopes to see certain things come through. So
Mhm.
that has to be a tough balance from that side of the field as well.
I can speak from my experience. I think that yes, um, but also, like you said, it is your job. So sometimes you're gonna have bad days just like everybody else. And
Mhm.
showing up in that and really giving yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable and still be ethical. I think sometimes like we forget how to do that just because we're in a position where we know that the family needs us and relies on us for certain things. And so I think that we think sometimes that we need to be like, robots or something like that, just from my experience at least. But you can share what you're going through with the family if you feel comfortable with. It's not
Yeah.
really, you're not crossing anything ethical as long as like you don't share too much, right? Like you can say, I'm not having a good day. I've had a really hard time today, whatever. And it's the family will probably respond like, is there anything I can do for you? Just like you would to any person.
Yeah.
So, but you're really like building a relationship with them. And like you said, like, especially if they're there a few hours, they're really like living with you for that time. So it's just, it's a very different thing. Like, I think that's also another reason why it gives you have more of an opportunity to mess up because you're there for that much longer versus like other like doctors, you may be there for like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's I came to that realization the other day because I was like, I mean, yes, there is a lot of like support for like the autism community, like with therapies and stuff like that, but like teachers and the therapists that are there for hours at a time, like you have more of an opportunity to mess up because they're there with you for so much longer.
Yeah.
And like schools, for example, you're there so much of the time and
Oh,
of the
yeah.
day and for so much of their life. So it's like if you're not
Yeah.
doing it right, that can really impact them. So
And I've
just
I've
harder.
always I've always tried to understand too from a parent's perspective of this person is working with a family that's in one of in many ways one of the most vulnerable families that you're going to meet. Right? They have a special needs child that has special needs. So, it's not it's not a bunch of kids just playing at a playground and you have to watch them. There's a lot of individualized time spent. There's a lot of focus spent. And that time and focus, like you said, can cause um not errors, but you said it well where it's like there's a lot of opportunity to maybe say something wrong or do the wrong thing, and it's like there's got to be patience on both sides. you know there has to
Yeah.
be patience on both sides of it.
Yeah. Seeing it really like through a lens of being human too and like forgiveness because we're going to make mistakes. We're going to do something that you may not have thought was the best decision, but
Mhm.
telling us and like not being afraid that we are the professional in this, right? Because we're really doing it together. Like we wouldn't be making the progress that we hope for if we weren't doing it together. So, and I know sometimes
Mhm.
families are afraid to tell us that they're not okay with something that we're doing. So, you begin to notice that disconnect where they're not showing up as much or they're canceling or they're not conversating as much with us and you're like, "Well, what's wrong?" But
Yeah.
if you're not like if you're not a person like I'm very empathetic, so I feel things so deeply. So I notice when things are off. And but if you don't have like if you're not like that, you may be like, "Oh, they're just, they just don't care." But it's like,
Ye-
well, really it can be that they didn't like something that you did and that's just their way of showing it.
mhm. That's well put. It makes sense. It really does. So let me ask you this. Tell us like a little bit about your background and how you became an autism parenting and support coach. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I've been a BCBA. It's 5 years now actually. I at some point I was telling people it's about to be 5 years, but now it's been 5 years. And over that time, I I saw a lot of change in the space of ABA, and not just like I've had the opportunity to train up a lot of people to be BCBAs. So now I have a lot of friends that they were RBTs first and now they're all BCBAs, and you just work with so many families. Like you work with so many, and it's like, what is the one thing that that if you could help families with can change the whole like trajectory of the therapy and the progress and all of that. And for me, it was really figuring out that families a lot of the time don't do anything for themselves. And I got to that because I started asking a lot more, I wouldn't say personal questions, but more like it was in my because in the initial assessments, I've done so many of them. I would ask like, what do you do like on a day-to-day basis, like something that's just for you? How are you coping with something not going right? How do you deal with stress? And it's asking those specific questions that aren't necessarily a part of their treatment plan. And honestly, insurance doesn't really care if we have those in or not. But like for my knowing, I cared because if you had someone that is like, well, I don't do anything for myself ever. And I've one family really changed like my whole like perspective on that because she started crying. And I just really didn't understand why. And it's like how much they long for that, but they feel like they don't have the time. They feel like they don't deserve it, or they just can't. And so that whole experience is what shaped this for me because I'm like, if we can help families with that part and really figuring out how to take care of their mental health, their well being, and putting themselves first, it's not only going to impact their lives, it's also going to impact their children's. And I put it to a test with a lot of the families that I was working with. I was like, hey, like, let's start doing something. Let's do something for you every single day. And let's, take data on it and do all of that. The ABA, the BCBA in me was like, let's take data on it. Did you do it? Did you not do it every single day? And so a lot of them, were doing it. Some of them we were having some issues with, but overall, over most of them were doing it. And you saw not only them become a different person, like they were just so much more joyful, but the progress that their kid was making was also just insane. And so I'm like, this is something here. Like it's really helping. And I think that not enough people are working on this. So that's how I'm like, I'm gonna do something for me because then I don't only am gonna impact the few people that I work with, but I can impact millions, and that's the goal, right? You want everyone to have a happy life and feel joy every day. It's not for anything else other than just want people to be happy. Like life is hard.
Hmm.
So so yeah,
That's
that's kind of how
awesome.
it like went about.
That is awesome. And it's so true too, because so I just started playing baseball again this year for fun, and Kayla was the one who kind of talked me into it. My brother asked me if I wanted to play, and I'd always been on the fence because I do fill my cup with hanging out with my wife and my son any opportunity I can because everyone works. He's in school. So you're trying your best to make the schedule work for everyone, spend family time. And she finally talked me into playing because she knew it was going to be good for me. And I
Mm,
haven't played in a long time. I haven't played since he was born. So I haven't played in 5 years because we were just living in his world. And this was the first year I kind of gave back to myself, and we played games on Sundays, and I had an absolute blast. I was sore after, but I had such a good time, and I think it just added to what I could bring to the table as a father and as a husband at the end of the day, because I was filling up my cup as well. Like you
Yeah,
said, you got to give to yourself too, because everyone else can benefit from it.
yeah, and just the joy alone that I can only imagine that you felt, like, you must have gone home or they were there and you probably were so happy,
Y-
like
yes, yeah,
we want more happy parents
yeah.
'cause parenting is hard.
It is. It is. She loves to go to concerts and hang out
Yeah,
with friends and stuff like that. So I'm like, just go. We'll
mm,
work out everything after. But we got to really start treating ourselves and make ourselves happy. Not just make each other happy, but do
mhm,
something for you. And that's going to um, that's just going to add happiness to the entire family. It
yeah,
really is. It's awesome that you started
yeah,
tracking that too. That's such a great
yeah,
concept because we're always so focused on teaching the kids, but in many ways, the parents aren't learning everything as they're going as well to reinforce. When we go to the IEP meetings for my son at school, I also ask what they're working on because I want to reinforce some of that stuff at home
yeah,
because I feel like that's going to be twice as much practice, and then I'm also learning as well.
yeah.
But
When everyone is working together, it just makes everything just better
hmm
because you can the skill, you're able to learn it a lot faster, absolutely.
now, is this what you've always wanted to do?
Be a BCBA or what
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah,
um,
or work within the community, work with people.
yeah, there's, like, a lot of sides to this question, but I have whenever I was a little young, maybe, like, college and before, I was always a person that said that I never wanted kids, didn't want anything to do with kids, and I, however, always knew that I would be good at it because just like the personality that I have, and I'm very patient and very relaxed, and kids need that a little bit more because sometimes in their environment they don't have that. And so they respond well to it for the most part. But autism is something that it kind of happened by accident, which that's, a lot of the times, a lot of the people that found the space of ABA, it was by accident. And so, like,
hmm
me too. But I was just searching for another job, and I have always said that I want to do something where I went home and felt like I made a difference. I didn't want just like a desk job, even though if you like change the perspective, technically you would be making a difference, even if you just work like in corporate or HR or whatever. But I really just wanted to do something where I felt home, and I'm like, I went home and I just, I did something today that helped somebody. And whenever I went to the interview for the RBT job, it felt like that. I'm like, if I could work with these children, I will go home and be so happy because one of them made progress, or, something else, especially with children with autism. Sometimes you're working on the same goal days or months, and on day like 300, they finally do it. So, like,
Yeah.
it happens. So it just it felt like everything that I wanted and hoped for in a job whenever I went to that interview. And so ever since then, I pursued, I was an RBT for like 2 years while I got my master's, and then I sat for my test, and ever since I've been a BCBA.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of the people that I talked to, teaching was going to be a background. They're good with people. They're good with lessons. Um, and this just kind of happened where it's like it
Mhm.
almost chooses you in a weird way that it happens, and you're like, this is almost what I was supposed to. This is what I'm supposed to do. It just kind of
Yeah,
comes about.
yeah,
Wow. How about that?
yeah.
So you went from an RBT to a
Mhm.
BCBA. What is a BCBA for people that are unaware?
Yeah, so a BCBA is a board certified behavior analyst, and that's like the fancy name. But really, we're the supervisors of and the person in charge of the case in the ABA space at least, because you can be a BCBA and it's really just the science of behavior. So you can make behavior change, and you're just the person that puts that plan, in either in ABA or in something else, and you make a behavior change. And that's really all it is.
Hmm. Now, for a RBT or a BCBA, like, are you working for a business or practice, or is it private for the people that don't know? How does that work?
Yeah. So being an RBT, from what I know and up to this state, you can only work in the space of applied behavior analysis, and which is ABA therapy for a lot of people. Um, and you have to be like under a supervisor. So a BCBA has to supervise you if you're an RBT. That's like the rule, the ethics rule. And then for being a BCBA, you can honestly do whatever you want to do being a BCBA because you have the credential. So
Mm,
there is a lot of the majority of BCBAs honestly work in this field, in the therapy with autism, but there's a lot of BCBAs too that work privately for either themselves or they're doing something else unrelated to autism. Like I've actually met some BCBAs that are working with sports because again, it's just behavior change. Like,
yeah.
and in sports, right, you need that sometimes in some
Mm-hmm.
teams. For the most part, you need that to change. And
Yeah.
you can work in anything like the health space. You can do a lot of different things that just causes behavior to change. You can work with animals, because it's just the credential, but a lot of us do stay in the autism like space just because of that's naturally like where we get our supervision hours in and get like all of our training. And so sometimes we don't leave that, which is okay. But yeah, once you have a BCBA credential, you can do whatever you want with it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not common, but there is a lot more now out there that
Mm,
and people that are helping you get to where you want. Like if you sometimes you don't want to work with kids and that's okay, but you can still BCBA and do something else that you like.
yeah. Now, from your experience, do you do more in-house? Is it more center-based? How does that typically work for, say a new parent comes in? Like, what are those kinds of options for them of whether it's in-house or center? Or,
There are a lot of options that are gonna pop up. Um, and the biggest thing is to know is like and sometimes you might not even know what you're looking for and what you want because it's your first experience with it, but there
Mhm.
are different settings that you can put your child in. So there's a clinic setting, there's some states allow like a RBT to go with you into the school, and then there's in-home. So one thing that's really important to know is that not all companies offer all three, and some companies only offer one. So it's just a matter of if you don't want in home, you want clinic to look for that because it's there's going to be companies out there that are only going to be able to provide in home. And if that's not what you want, which I respect, then something like in clinic, or if you live in a state where it's okay for an RBT to go to school with your child, then that's an option too. So, yeah, that's pretty much the three options that there are.
Yeah, so we had done in-home when we were doing it, and The reason why I say when we were doing it, we're no longer doing ABA right now because um you actually posted something about it. I think you were talking to someone else and you had mentioned that once you become certain ages, the services change drastically as well. So
Yeah.
before Cole was in preschool, we had people in home 4 days a week. Um, and then once he started preschool, it kind of dwindled because we didn't jump right in right off the bat 4 days a week. But so we started going like 2 days a week. And then he started doing really well in school. And then it turned into, 2 days a week and then 1 day a week. And then we tried to move things to the afternoon. And you're trying to provide services while having them go to school. And that can be very challenging. And I think they did such a great job teaching him to learn from other people because he's big into mom and dad.
Mm,
So the fact that we had therapists be able to get through to him was amazing. He built trust and love for them. And when he went out into school, he was ready to be around other people and learn. So it was very helpful, at least having him in home because we got to learn as well. Kind of like what you were
mhm.
talking about
Yeah.
the parents, like making sure the parents are okay too. We actually needed that. And our BCBA picked out two unbelievable people, which was Kelly and Erin. And then when Erin had other opportunities, we ended up getting Tara, who was amazing as well. So we've been very fortunate with the ABA services that we've had and just the people that have worked with our kid,
Yeah. It
So
that's really good to hear. It's
yeah,
refreshing.
we've had an unbelievable experience because yeah, if you look it up and you don't know, it goes either way. It really just
Mhm.
depends on the person or the place that you had signed up for or tried. But we had an unbelievable experience.
Yeah. And I always tell families too, like I do get people on social media ask me what I recommend, and I can't really recommend anything if I don't live there. So
Mm,
I'm like, the biggest things to look for in the reviews is if an RBT is talked about a lot, and this is just like something good to know, like if RBTs are talked about a lot and it's not positive, and that's a red flag because the RBTs are the foundation of the therapy. Like if there's not an RBT and if the RBTs aren't taken care of, likely it's not like the most ethical place. Like it really
mm,
matters if the RBT is taken care of, if they're talked highly of, if and especially if there's RBTs writing the reviews, it's just a red flag.
yeah,
And so because if without RBTs there is no ABA therapy.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, we had such a great experience. Our personnel was kind of handpicked, also based on who was available. But we just it's weird to hear that people do. I totally understand people having bad experiences. Makes sense. That's going to be across any field of
Yeah.
anything you look at. Someone's going to have a terrible teacher and then someone's going to have an amazing teacher. But
Mhm.
we were very, very fortunate. Kayla's mother is a teacher and she was actually at the same school as our BCBA. It was amazing. We got to sit down and talk to her and then talk to the RBTs and everything before anything. We got to get a good feel for everyone.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good that they allow that. Some companies don't. They just kind of throw you in.
Yeah, it was awesome. We got to meet everyone. Sometimes people aren't so lucky, like you just said, they're kind of thrown in there, but uh,
Mhm.
I mean, it's fair for both sides.
Yeah.
It's got to be fair for both sides.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what ages do you typically work with?
And everyone has a different like age group. that they're kind of like have experience with. For the most part, I know my experience has varied. In the very early of my career, I was working in clinic. So in clinic, you're gonna find a lot of those babies that like until the school age because like you were talking about before, it kind of fades out or you transition into in-home to have that like after school services. So I've worked with all of those like little babies until like 5, 6, and then I've also worked in home is a lot more like the older ones. So like older in like my sense, like 6 to like 10, 11, 12. And then I have had experience with adults, but not every best BCBA has because it's there's not a lot of ABA with adults. It just
Mm.
doesn't really exist unless it's like a day program or um homes or things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of them is like early age into like the early teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
just,
Which is sad, but
I know.
it is
I
it
know
is
because
what it is.
especially if you said like that BCBAs have the ability to take their talents into other sports, other fields,
Mhm.
things along those lines, because it wouldn't essentially just be for kids. It'd be for people that need assistance at any age level
Yeah.
type of thing.
Some how the way that I see it though is in order to do that, you obviously would have to create your own business and not everyone wants to be a business owner. And
Yeah.
another thing is like some people don't have the experience. They kind of just have a want for doing it. And it's like we call it like scope of practice. So technically we shouldn't be practicing anything that we don't know how to do because it's in our ethics code that it's not ethical if we do that. And it's
Yeah.
valid, like if you're gonna open up like a clinic for teens into like early adulthood and you have had zero experience with that, well, with like anything, like it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
And not everyone wants to be a business owner. So it just creates a little bit of a barrier with that because with ABA, like truthfully and just as super transparent, because I know that side of it too, is like it truly is so easy to just make an like open up an ABA business and build relationships with insurance because insurance really is the what like moves the whole thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like so versus like if you wanted to do something for the teens or early adults or adults, insurance won't be so willing to pay for it because
Mm,
it's not ABA therapy. And
yeah.
it's very much regulated by them, unfortunately.
Yeah. That would make sense. Now
Yeah.
you had talked about working with parents a little bit to make sure that that they are taking care of themselves. Is that kind of part of the guiding circle? Is that just something that you're doing on the side? Is that something that's just for the kid as well as kind of a partnership essentially?
Yeah. So the guiding circle and that community is all just kind of came apart whenever I started social media because I know that I wanted to do something more. And it really is just teaching parents that you are able to take care of yourself. So it's kind of a mix of things. It's obviously implementing the things that we go over. It's holding you accountable. It's taking data to make sure that we're making progress. And it's working on that mindset and belief in yourself and that self-worth and all of those things that we as humans sometimes will struggle with. We go through seasons where sometimes we're doing really well and sometimes we're not. And it's really all of that. But it's not really focused on like behavior change for your child. However, it does come because you're showing up better and you're your best self, and you're just
Yeah.
doing all of these good things, and for you that it's bound to make impact the way that you show up for your child, so your child will make progress. But it's really just focused on the parent themselves, and because that's where I see that you we it's like the root, right? Like, we
Hmm.
care for the root, everything else will flourish.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome, and I like that you started that around the time of, like, social media and all that because it's very important. I'm kinda big on, we'll do a lot to try to teach the kids, but how much is being taught to the parents as well, because they're spending a lot of time with the kiddos, and they have to constantly evolve as their kids are evolving, and you gotta kinda stay ahead of the curve as well. Um,
Mhm.
so it is good to have that sense of community. Is that mainly in person, or is there things online for that?
Yeah, so the guiding circle, I do cohorts of it, and it's all online.
Nice.
Eventually, I would love to do more in-person events. I just have no experience with that, so I would need to hire someone to, like, help me with it.
Yeah.
Um, because like you said, we all need community. Well, the way that I do it is I run a cohort of 6 weeks. Right now, that's what it is. In the future, I'm probably gonna make it a little bit longer just because you're then, make more impacts with the families,
Mhm.
um, longer they're with you. But for right now, it's a 6-week program, and we go through all the things that I talked about. So, really helping you as a person kind of do all of the things that you forgot how to do when you became a parent to a child with autism. And it's not technically not only for parents of children with autism, it's for any human
Yeah.
that maybe is at a point where they want to be and show up better, but they don't know how and they need help. And so it's really just that, like, it's behavior change, right? Like, we need to
Mhm.
put certain things in place that will help you show up in the way that you want to show up, and care for yourself in the way that you don't know how but want to and long for, because it's what I see a lot. Like, a lot of parents come to me and they want to do something for themselves so deeply, but they don't know how, and they feel like they don't have time for it and they don't deserve it and all those things. And it's a matter of, like, your self-worth, right? Like, how much do you feel like you deserve it? And if you don't, then you're always going to find a way to not do it because you don't feel like you deserve it. So it's a lot of that. But yeah, they're with me for 6 weeks. We go through it together, and it's a group program. So everyone is able to, like, build a little community for themselves within that group. And something that I really encourage, just because autism parents need other autism parents. Um, and so, yeah, it's something that just kind of came afloat, and it's been a really good experience. So, I'm excited for this next year. I haven't done it, since the summer. I kind of, like, took a break from it just for my own personal life,
Mhm.
but I'm excited to, like, relaunch it in the beginning of the year. And yeah, it's just like everything that I've always wanted to do with the credential that I have,
Yeah.
because they you know, a lot of the times you see a person that is not broken, but they feel broken, and it's like, "Well, you're not," you
Yes.
know? You've you're going through this experience, you have a child with autism, like, that is valid, like, you feel and you see things differently because of that. So, yeah, that's a little bit about it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so true when you stop and think about it, because community has been the biggest thing for us. Um, Having other parents that kind of know what you're going through in that situation. Um, and two, so much just in life in general, like you said, it's not just for autism parents, it's just for people who might feel like there's a little crack, maybe not be broken, but a little bit of a crack, because life sometimes can just feel like you're running downhill.
Yeah.
And then so much time will pass, you kind of forgot to stay on your feet. The momentum's just having you run downhill, and sometimes you need the ability to reset. And sometimes that comes through community. It can come through a 6-week course. It can come from perspective,
Yeah.
through your peers and through what you're offering. That's awesome that you're doing that. It's so helpful to
Yeah.
so many people. And yeah, we'll definitely have to put a link to it in this because yeah, there'll be some people that will definitely be interested in that.
Yeah. And the way that, thank you, by the way. And but the way that I see it is sometimes you need an outsider to that knows nothing
Mhm.
about your life to help you through it. And within that, they might become one of your favorite people, and that's great.
Yeah. Y-
And yeah, I don't know. You never know what'll come from it. But yeah, I see it as that because sometimes too, like we become the people that we hang out with. And we might see them as someone great, and I'm not saying that they're not wonderful, but sometimes too, because they love you so much, they might also be telling you what you want to hear. And sometimes that's not the best thing for you.
Yeah.
So, like where I show up is like, well, I am a coach and I want what's best for you, but I'm going to see things objectively. And like you're going to tell me what you want, and if you're not doing the things that you want to do and showing up as a person that you want to do, that you want to be, I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
And so it's yeah, it's a different experience, but um, I
Th-
just feel like a lot of people need it.
that's awesome too because it's great that you're holding people accountable to that degree because not that something's completely wrong, but if someone's going there and they're looking and they're searching for something, they maybe they know that there's something that they need to tweak to kind of get back on track, to find themselves. When they're signing up, they're ready to be held accountable by someone else. It's easy to not like what you're doing and just stay in the shadows, right? With nobody really telling you some of the hard truths at times. And we all need it. Like accountability is there. It's what keeps you on track. It's even sometimes when it's a little bit tough to hear. you know,
Yeah,
like you got
yeah,
to be fair to yourself. If you can become a better person with someone helping out and keeping you accountable, that's what we got to do. I have that relationship with my brother where we'll joke with each
mm,
other on like, what are you doing, man? you know? And you need that. It's like, I'm going to tell you this. You're not going to like it. You're going to want to hit me, but I love you. So I'm going to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
Especially when it comes from a place like I have consultations with everyone that I bring in, right? And then they tell me like the things that they want to do and their goals and how they want to be and how they want to show up. And I'm like, you said it.
Yeah.
Like, I know that if you at some point change your mind, or if you like try to like, you know, tell me something otherwise, it's those little voices inside your head or someone telling you that, no, that's kind of weird. But it's like, but it didn't come from me, it came from you.
Yes.
So you want this behavior change, like this is what it's going to take. And like you said, like you do it with so much love and you just hope that it's received like that, even though sometimes it's not. And sometimes, it happens, like we're human. Sometimes we feel like it's an attack on us and it's it's not. Like I know,
Yeah.
like, for me, like, my intentions are so good, and I want you to be the person that you wanna be, and I'm gonna help you get there if you allow me to, and if you
Yeah.
allow yourself to.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's well said. And that's what I've always tried to understand. Because yeah, while ABA and our personnel there have worked, we've had other things with other programs that haven't worked, but still with the understanding of the intention is good. They just weren't our people. Like they didn't match us. They didn't, something was off. The vibe wasn't there. We just didn't connect. It was never there was any hostility. You're trying to find people who can hold you accountable, but people you want to be around too. Like
Yeah.
our therapists were great because they were in-house. You were probably in PJs when they came over, and it was, you're rubbing crust out of your eyes and you're like, it's Wednesday, because you've had them for so long. And they're coming in like, my kid had a game last night and it went extra innings, and you're like, yeah, that's life. We're all lifing together,
Yeah.
and it's good to be able to see that and create that bond with people. And it sounds
Hmm.
like that's what's happening with you guys too, as you're learning each other and you potentially even extending it, because you get to learn more about each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes for more behavior change, which
Hmm.
is the goal, because it's not, you if you only do the things that we're all doing together within those 6 weeks and you don't do it after that, well, then you're back to where you were before.
Yeah.
And that does happen, sometimes it does, like, it's they see it as like a temporary thing, like, "Oh, this is gonna solve all of my problems," but it's like, no, you really have to keep doing it after, or not you're gonna go back,
It's
You're gonna go
parent
back to
yeah,
feeling that those things.
it's parental regression. Yeah.
When we take data, like, we take
Yeah.
data on it, like, we see if you're progressing, because you have to. Like, the only way that you're going to see if you made progress is if you see, like, how far you've come. And it gives them something else to, like, be proud of, like, "Oh, I did that. That's so cool," you know?
Yes. Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
I and and I think, like, adults sometimes, like, even though we're grown and we have kids and a family and a house and all these big things, like, we all still wanna feel, like, proud of ourselves every now and then and
Yes.
things like that, but we forget because we're so caught up in this adulting, and
Yep.
it's like, "No,
Y-
there are things to be celebrated even though they may not seem that are big to some people," and yeah,
Yeah.
just so important.
You have to find the small victories. Absolutely. Because you get so caught up in, I have to pay this, I have to do
Yes.
this, and it turns into the I haves rather than the I want to accomplish this. I want to learn a new language. I want to read this book. It's not forgetting. I think when you're younger, there's so much ahead of you that you want to do. And then once you become an adult, you look back and it's everything you have to do. And it's
Yeah.
just remembering that, like, you're breathing. It's not over yet. You can still learn something new. You can still do something new. Like I said, this year was the first time I played baseball in 5 years. Started the podcast just a couple months ago. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
just let's just add.
Is that part of the reason why you moved up there?
No, so we had always been here and just
Okay,
just started finding out, like,
got it.
so here was the thing that kind of led me into some of the information. Massachusetts is one of the top 5 states to live in if you have a special needs kid. Um,
Okay.
just based on the healthcare system with like
Yeah.
Mass General, Boston Children's, like a lot of amazing hospitals are out here, a lot of amazing doctors, and then you start to look at some of the healthcare system that we do have out here. There's a lot of access to ABA, speech therapy, occupational therapy. We live in a Title I city, so that's all federal funding, essentially, that goes into our schools. So our son's classes last year was maxed out at 9 kids, but it has a teacher in 2 pairs.
Wow.
And there's options of sub-separate, like there's 3 preschool classes at his school. That's 3 minutes from our house. And then there's
Wow.
entire schools that are special need as well out here. So there's a lot of great options that we do have. We understand that we're very fortunate. Um,
Mhm.
but it did want to make me look into what some of the other capabilities and services that we have. And that kind of led to this. And if you look it up enough, it'll pop up on Instagram. so,
Yeah, I know, right?
so certain things popped up, but I did
That's
want
so
to
funny.
ask you this. So we had
Okay.
talked about guiding circle. Now, guiding light is your book. Did that come
Yeah.
out around the same time frame? When did that come about writing a book, and what is it about?
Yeah. So Guiding Light, I wrote that 2023 in the summer. It was kind of one of those things where I was thinking about launching a business, but I wanted to have something to give away. So it was originally going to be like a freebie, like, here's a book that I made, things like that. But it kind of just sat in my Google Drive.
Mm,
And in 2024, the opportunity to publish came about. And so I spent all of 2024 pretty much like working with editors, things like that. And then the beginning of this year, 2025, is when we launched. And what it's about is pretty much like what I call it is like ABA therapy in a book. And my whole purpose and goal for it was, I know there's a lot of families because of the nature of things that either are in an area where they don't have access to ABA therapy, or they're on wait lists that are incredibly long, or and not just for ABA therapy, but also for a diagnosis. And
yeah.
I feel like a lot of parents that do have children with autism, they just know, they know either they have autism or something else. And this book is my experience with autism, but also it can help anyone because we go through everything that is ABA therapy. So, like increasing communication, working on feeding, working on toileting, working with behavior. So, there's chapters dedicated to all of these different things. And it's really just for the parent that needs a refresher or needs ABA therapy and something that they can follow on their own. Like you can implement a lot of the things that are in that book with your child and you're going to see a change. And that all happened before even the guiding circle was created. The guiding circle was created earlier this year, I think in like maybe May or June. And it kind of happened that they're named similar. I was like ideating like what should I name it? I could have just named it like parent support group, but I'm like that's so boring. Let's name it something cool. And yeah, I'm just like I like that. Like it's a your circle and you're guiding them. Like,
Yes.
I really like that. And it just happened to like be with guiding light. And I don't know, like I'm very much like I see the world with like I don't know, like very empathetic eyes. Like I just want people to, like it's just like life is good if you allow it to be. Like there is tragedy that's going to happen. It's just part of the experience, but at the end of the day, like I want for everyone to live their life joyful, and that's just how I see the book like for an autism parent, because I know that it's going to be hard and it's going to be one of the most challenging experiences that you are going to have, and it's going to be a lifelong thing, but you can make what you want of it. And if you see it as something that it's really hard, it's going to be really hard. But if you see it as something that is challenging, but you can get through it, then that's exactly what it'll be.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a matter of perspective. And there's I think two chapters in there that I talk about how important it is for you to take care of yourself, and how it starts with you, and how a diagnosis doesn't mean that your life is over. It just means
Hmm.
that it's going to be a little bit more challenging in some cases, but it doesn't mean that your life is over, which I feel like a lot of the times parents do feel that way.
Yeah. Especially if maybe you're not expecting it. Um,
Yeah.
See, we had seen the signs, so for I can only speak for me. For me, the diagnosis was a little bit of a relief. in the sense of
Mm,
it showed what we had known, that we know our kid, but also it allowed us to then have access to the services that he would need. That's how I tried to view it, is
yeah.
okay, this is life. Now what do we do to make it the best life that we have? And how can we be proactive? What are the next steps? Who do we need to call? What insurance do we need to call the insurance company? How do we get into ABA? What speech? There was a lot of things to do, but um, we owed it to him to show up to the best of our ability.
Mhm.
So it made me very excited to learn as much as I could. And I'm glad you're talking about Guiding Light, because that's a book that I need to get. Because last year I read 19 books,
Oh,
just
wow.
going through it all and trying to get my hands on so many different versions and in everything that you can get. Because for me, that's my life. I love him, and I'll always have his back. And I think the title that you chose is perfect because it's not boring, you know, essentially. That's one of the
Yeah.
good things. That's one
Thank
thing I
you.
like about it. I liked the whole guiding um umbrella that you have, cuz we
Yeah.
need it. We need some guidance too.
Yeah. Yeah. I always saw it as like I don't want to be anyone's like savior or like hero or like you saved my life. Like
Yeah.
no, like I want to help you change your own life because that's really the only way to create change is you have to want it, you have to do it yourself. You can have people there for you, guiding you, helping you, supporting you, holding you accountable, but really it is up to you.
Yeah.
And that was the whole goal of it. And yeah, you talk about like the diagnosis being a relief and I talk about that in the book too. Like it is a relief for some people, but for some people it's also the biggest heartbreak they will ever experience. And
Yeah.
both can coexist, but it's like,
It,
okay,
yeah.
what do we do now? How can we make this better? How can we help them help ourselves? So
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. It can happen. Two things can be true.
yeah.
It can be very tough and heartbreaking for some, but also a sign of relief all in the same day, in the same 5-minute span. You go through those emotional
Yep.
swings essentially. The idea is to make sure that you have a really good base, and you know what you're set out to do. For me as a father, my most important thing is to make sure he's happy, healthy, to know he's loved, to know that I always have his back, and to do my best to understand him and teach him. And
Yeah.
I feel like just watching out for him every day and being his best friend and learning as much as I can, those are going to be the things that are going to help him, and he's going to see me do it. I always make the joke that Kayla always takes pictures of me and him laying on the Target floor playing with toys, because I'm going to do it with him. He's not going to do it and people are going to walk by and look at us like, you can go ahead. I don't care. We're hanging out. That's
Yeah.
how I see it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Mhm.
I don't need the world to understand me or him. We're just going to do what we do.
Yeah. Yep.
But let me ask you this. What's something that you wish most autism parents knew? Or what's one little piece of advice that you would leave them?
Something that comes to mind, again, like my focus is not specific to the child just because I know that they can receive as much therapy as they can get, that insurance will approve and the change won't be there because the parents are suffering. Um, so it would be for the parents, and I know that some parents believe that taking care of yourself requires a whole day off of your child, or they feel like they can't do it. And They feel like, all of these different things that they feel and that are valid. But I want to tell them that it's not true. Like, those are just things that one, you believe that maybe along the road, either you hope that they happen, but they're not true. In order for the change to happen, you really need to start with a few minutes, because if you can't dedicate a few minutes to yourself, how do you expect to dedicate a whole day to yourself? You have to
Yes.
start really small and something that you can do, because if you can't dedicate 2 to 5 minutes to yourself every single day, how can you expect to dedicate an entire day to yourself? It's just not
Yes.
going to happen. So it really starts with making sure you're sticking to those 2 to 5 minutes in the very beginning, doing something that makes you happy, that brings you joy, that brings a smile to your face, that just causes you to see, like, wow, this life is good, even if it's just 2 to 5 minutes. And then you can work up from that.
That's awesome.
So,
No, it's so true. You have to find some of the small time and then be happy. You got to be happy with that 5 minutes that you can get, and try to figure out what needs to be addressed the most in that 5 minutes. That can bring you peace of mind. It
yeah,
really can. Just some of the small things.
yeah. And you have to work with what you have. Sometimes it's just a reality, like if you're a single parent or if you're a parent to a child that has more challenging needs, like a more severe case, you have to take what you get, and sometimes you have to create that. It's not like, well, if they're awake, sometimes there's sleeping challenges, right? If they're
Hmm.
awake from like 6 to 12, you have to be awake with them. How can you create that time? Well, often it's going to look like you waking up a little bit earlier, and sometimes it's going to look like staying up a little bit later, but you have to create that. And it's, yes, you're exhausted, and I get that, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like saying that even is really hard, because I know, like, I struggled with that in the very beginning. Like, how can I tell family? How can I tell them that? But it's like, well, it's anything. It's have to change your behavior. You can't expect for anything to change if you keep doing the same things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can be exhausted with no time for yourself, or you could be exhausted with an extra 15 minutes of time for yourself in the morning. Maybe that's just what allows you to make your cup of coffee, and maybe you're just enjoying the cup of coffee before the day starts. And that maybe that's
Yeah,
just the start of it all. Just to kind of sit there in silence and give yourself that moment to prepare for the day, or on the back end part of the day. Um no, I completely agree with what you're saying, because Coco wakes up at when he sleeps in till about 4:30, but he wakes up anywhere from 3 a.m. to 4:30. And
wow.
when he wakes up at 3:30, we're in the car driving around for 2 hours from 4:30 to 6:30. So, yeah,
Wow.
you have to be awake and on top of your game,
Mhm.
essentially. So, and that's him. Now, luckily, I can function on about 3 hours of sleep, so I'm
Mhm.
usually okay.
You're one
You
of the
know,
lucky ones.
I am the one who will go to sleep at 12 and wake up at 3 a.m. And I'm
Mm,
just I'm tired, but it takes me less time to kind of get up and get ready for the day. But I like
yeah,
that you said that even if it's 2 to 5 minutes, it's something that I need to practice a little bit more too. That was more of a
yeah. And
selfish question
it's
for me to ask.
yeah, and it's really making sure that that time is not like you preparing something for your child. Like, no, be selfish. Like, you have to. And it's something as simple like, like you mentioned a cup of coffee. There's a lot of avid coffee drinkers in this world. I'm one of them. Like, I love just mornings where I get to make myself breakfast. I get to make myself coffee. Like, brewing the espresso machine just like makes me so happy. And
Yes.
like what's that thing for you? What's that thing that just brings you so much joy that you can do every day? There's gotta be something, and if there's
Mhm.
not anything, well, that's your homework, think about it because you forgot, it's been a while since you've done anything for you, but, like, before that, like, when you were young, what are some things that you did that made you really happy?
Yeah.
So,
No,
often you
that's
have to think about it, but there is something.
yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. It really is. For RBTs, maybe BCBAs, teachers paras, anything like that, kind of like a general statement.
Mhm.
In a light way, what's one thing that you'd like to remind some of those professionals of? And what's something that would kind of correspond that maybe you'd want to remind parents of?
Yeah, I think this goes for everyone, but, like, humanize everyone's experience. Like, we are all in this, like, human experience, living on this world for a brief time. Like, we are all doing it. Um, everyone, I wanna say, like, for the most part, does have good intentions. Sometimes we're just living life and humanize everyone's experience a little bit more. Like,
Hmm.
teachers, professionals humanize the parents' experience, and parents humanize the professional's experience. It goes both ways.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good point because we're all just humans and some have a little bit more information in that particular area,
Yeah,
right?
and besides, like, with the professionals, right? Like, you don't know who the parent is unless you ask, but they also could be either a BCBA or a doctor or someone
Yeah,
that of authority that you look up at to, like, as an authority figure. Like, you don't know who they are unless
yeah,
you ask, but, like, it's the same thing.
yeah.
It
No,
goes both ways.
it's very true.
Yeah.
Now you had talked about like the guiding circle and maybe in the future if everything worked out to potentially do it in person. But do you have any other upcoming projects, any books, events or activities that you're kind of working on?
The biggest thing that I want to do moving forward is figure out a way to service people and do it without needing anything in return, like
Mm,
helping people for free. And not that I need anything in return because I don't, but it's just everything is expensive, right? Like everything costs money. So figuring out a way to help them do it and like help many people and do it without having to charge. Like that is something that I have been kind of processing for a little bit. And I just need to like really figure out like how I want to do that.
you should do
But,
a guiding light fundraiser and have people donate and that can pay for whatever it is you're going to do.
I know that could probably do like for in-person events, like host them and just invite families. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
That,
I'm gonna sit on that.
people gotta people can pitch in, you know, people
Yeah.
can pitch in a little bit of money to help out the humans around them,
Yeah.
you know, why not?
Yes, absolutely. And or even like in just I'm just gonna sit down and think I just thought about something else, but yeah, because I especially like within the community, right? Like that you are a part of, you want to make a difference and you want to help people and everywhere that you go, there's people that need help, but like how can
Hmm.
you do it in your community? And then eventually if that goes well, then do it worldwide. So
Yeah,
yeah, those are some of the biggest things. But yeah, the guiding circle will resume next year. And yeah, hopefully soon we'll be doing some in-person things. So
that's
just
awesome.
keep on doing things, yeah, to help people.
That's pretty cool. What's a message that you would like to leave your family? Maybe you tell them often, maybe you don't get to tell them as much as you want.
Families,
Your family.
my family. Mm.
or families in general?
Hmm, hard question. Wow.
Yeah, it's a very in-depth kind of question.
I think overall, whenever you're with people, just be present because life is so long, but it can be so short.
Yes.
And it can be because it might feel like it because, you ask any older person and everything was just yesterday. Like, I love talking to older people. I actually connect really well with like the older generation. And they say that a lot, like everything was just yesterday. Like they're in their 70s, 80s, and it's so long years wise, but it goes by so fast. So whenever you're with someone, just be present.
Yes. Yeah. I've you start to hear it, the older you get, the faster time goes. And now that my son is 5, it's another way to measure time. It's another reminder of like, oh, 5, that number pops up now. You're like, okay. So
Yeah.
for you, where can people find your content, books? Where can they learn more about you, what you have going on?
Yeah. The best way to get a hold of me and to find me is all social media platforms. My username is that steady parent. And in all of the social media platforms, there are always going to be links on there, and that's where you can find my books or my book, and that's where you can get like more information. Either joined my email list, which is really fun. I think I've had a good time with it so far. Just sending daily things that you don't often hear from BCBAs. And again, more focused on the parent. And you can also, whenever the guiding circle starts, you can get more information on that there.
Nice. That is awesome. Yeah. Hey, I want to thank you for being on tonight. I appreciate your time and your knowledge on this matter. It's very good. I get to take a lot of this information for myself selfishly. So I want to thank you for being on and sharing your journey and your story.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. We'll be talking soon.